One. And we are live. Brian Harrington, welcome back to Cory's Conversations podcast. I forget what episode we're on. It's a good thing. Building them up. How you been, man?
Good. Life is good. Exciting times.
Yeah, exciting is one way to describe it. I think crazy, weird are the other ways to describe it. I don't know. It's just, we were talking just before we got on. Feels like we need an overhaul of everything. I mean, everything that's going on. You've got obviously the Black Lives Matter movements. You've got the defund the police stuff. You've got just everything going on with, why is it always that we have a weird, seems like every time there's a presidential election, this is obviously the most extreme case, at least in my historical memory. I can't remember anything before during a presidential election where you had a global pandemic, people wanting to defund police forces. Do you think that has anything to do with the climate, or is it just a happy accident that we've got an election in 4 months to decide the leader of the free world?
So many ways to slice it. So many things that I could say right now. My goal in talking to you today is I want to cast as wide a net as possible to everybody listening. And so whatever you think of me, knowing me or skin color or my hat choice today or my beard, just everything, help me abstract me away. And I want to throw as wide a net as possible across everything that's happening in the world right now, because I want to say, like, I stand with all of it. Like, regardless of things that I've said in the past, or regardless of just things that I've chosen to focus on in the past, me now standing here today, I'm with all of it. Every single person that's trying to live in freedom in Capitol Hill in their own again, whatever word you want to describe for what they're doing, like anarchy, weird, whatever you want. And then all the way over to, look, people that like Trump, people that don't like Trump, Black Lives Matter. I don't care what party you are. I know people, all these kind of like third label movements and just no labels movements. I'm not even talking about that. Like, I'm not identifying with any label right now. Like, the label I'm identifying with is like us, like the 99%
People.
Like, I don't think, it's not, the world to me is not left versus right anymore. It's not anything. It's those of us that are living under the tyranny of people in power in the world. I don't feel good. I started off the call, I said, I feel good. And the reason why I feel good is because I have a clear mind now. I have a clear mind that there are people in this world that hate us. They hate you, and they hate me, and they hate everybody listening to this. They hate everybody that's in Capitol Hill right now trying to express freedom in their own way. They hate the police officers that are forced to put food on their table, try to apply dumb laws written by dumb people with no skin in the game.
Right.
Politicians and the government are not helpful. They are not helpful. They are the opposite of helpful. They are actively looking for ways to control you and to control me.
Well, that was the big appeal of Trump, right? For middle America that was left behind, right? Is that he's going to drain the swamp. But that all kind of fell by the wayside, and now it's politics as usual. I mean, and so it's like that was the appeal process that got people interested. Like, yeah, there is something going on in this country that is the 99 versus 1%, and that's the Occupy Wall Street kind of stuff. That's the Bernie Sanders. That's the one thing that's like, how did we end up in the situation where we have to choose between Trump and Biden?
And I don't know. People in power made it that way. And that's the thing now, is that voting, we have to look for solutions outside voting. And that's what I mean about casting as wide a net as possible. If you're passionate about politics, I don't care what team you're on, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep shouting about reform. Every single person to keep shouting about reform using any and all words that you have. Keep shouting about it and voting. That's awesome. That's great. Some of us are more burnt out on that game than others, and some people are getting into that game for the first time. All of that's positive because that game, the politics game, needs turnover. The people that are burnt over need out. They need out because they're not helping.
Let me ask you this.
People that are new to that game, that's awesome. Bring in, don't do things the old way.
Yeah.
Go in new.
Let me ask you this. So what feels like, I agree with you. The people, whatever your opinion is, whatever your side, whatever your political lines, your cause, because there's like 6 different movements, it feels like right now, that are all kind of riding in the same car and they're pushing each other. Which is good, but that also feels like somewhat of a leaderless movement. Like, who's driving the car right now? Is it the Black Lives Matter? Is it the anti-police brutality? Is it the social justice folks? Like, who's driving the car? And I don't think we need one leader. What I really like seeing is small community leaders. There was a protest in Puyallup, and I happened upon a Facebook page, and there was this one person who was just organizing this by themselves. And I did some like looking into their profile and stuff, and no political connections, just a person who thought like, this is what's going on is bullshit. I want to step up. I want to see if I can rally people. And sure enough, we got hundreds of people in downtown Puyallup doing something. So it's like, that's good. And I think we need to have local
and tell people where Puyallup is.
Puyallup
is just a town. Puyallup is a town.
I don't know the population, 20,000, if that.
It's
not even.
It's anywhere. It's anywhere. It's a.
Yeah.
There's nothing special.
But does there need to be one figure that steps up and says, I'm the leader of this movement? Or do we need to appoint somebody? Do we need to draft somebody into the leader position, or can this be done with multiple sergeants?
Dude, that's the exact right question. And like, you're able to pinpoint the exact right question because you're a leader. You've been a leader on teams. You've been a leader just in corporate stuff. You've been a leader of like game nights. It doesn't matter. Like, it's where is the car going and when is it leaving? Like,
right.
That. And I would say that's why I wanted to say, yeah, we need multiple leaders, and we need the leaders to not be fighting each other because there's a common enemy. There's a common enemy, and we need to identify the common enemy, and we need to stop the interfighting between.
Well, and look, you're going to have a lot of imperfect allies if this is going to work. So you're going to have people, you started off by saying, whatever my previous position was, yeah, I supported Trump, and now I'm on this cause. The people who are leading these movements need to accept that they are going to have people that probably are going to have imperfect histories and have records on this, but it doesn't matter where you were, it's where we are now and what are you doing to help. If you can help in any way, there was a quote, I don't know who was saying it, but it's talking about like when Ben Affleck was trying to help out with the Me Too movement, right? And then it comes out that he had touched a woman inappropriately in the 90s or something, and which doesn't give him a pass. But if he's now trying to help, don't you want somebody of that influence on your team now? Or is it just like, no, you've done something bad, you're gone forever, you're not part of the movement?
Look, and that's where it's impossible to have this conversation without like getting spiritual and without getting metaphysical and without getting, because exactly, like, there are no perfect people. We all know that. There's no perfect people, and no people are ever going to say things in the exact same way that you say them. And that's good. Like, that diversity is positive. Diversity of thinking, diversity of ways of speaking, like, is positive. And so, want to know the way you can help? That everyone can help, because everyone can pause from tearing down. Don't tear down. And that's why, like, dude, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, like, I stand with that. Dude, I'm a conservative. Like, I stand with that. Like I will take a committed progressive that wants to burn it down over my previous conservative hats that I've worn.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Burn it down. And if you want to hear more ideas from me on other ways that we can do that and other decentralized, leaderless, leadership is not bad. Leaders are good. Charisma is a physical thing. Humans are community creatures. We hang out together and we talk together. And that's part of why the whole masks are a barrier to that. Like we're putting guards in front of us and other people. The government has made us enemies of each other. And that's what I'm really sad about. And that's what that's what I want to preach against. And that's when I say we have a common enemy. I'll just say it in really clear terms. I believe the common enemy is the United States government. I will say that in very plain terms. The bureaucracy of the people controlling us is the enemy. People need to look for ways to grab power back.
Yeah. We have this arrogance, it feels like, in the United States for such we don't realize how young of a country, 250 years old, right? We think the United States Revolution was 600 years ago. Every year, the United States Revolution and slavery gets pushed back 50 years. And it's oh yeah, we're at this new place. It's no, we're a super young country, and we think that because we're Americans, so that we can't happen into something like the French Revolution, like Nazi Germany, like countless other times, like Marxism, like Maoism, you look at all of these people that got fed up with how the government was running and overthrew it. And it's going to happen in the United States at some point. It's not if, it's when.
No, it's not if. And that's why, yellow vests in France, Brexit in England, all of that, it's all connected. It's all connected in the entire world. And the 6 different movements that, are happening inside the United States right now. I stand with all of that. All of that. I don't want, and if you're we should not be covering for the establishment. Why am I going to sit here as just a human and cover for the establishment, cover for those in power because a few of them are not bad. And that's the thing too. It's I'm not even saying the humans are bad. This is where it's really abstract. The humans are not. It's the entity.
It's a system. So it's
power. Yes.
They talk about it when they talk about apartheid. You don't try the people who are, and even back to Nazi Germany, and that's a different one, but you just talk about apartheid. It's not the people who are executing these crimes and keeping the people down. They aren't criminals. They are the victims because they are participating in a system that is corrupt. And so if you try the people, it doesn't work. What you need complete transparency for the people to say how they participated in this system. Because that's how I was talking to my wife, and it feels like we've been going for the last 10, 15 years into this, the social justice warrior culture and the woke culture. And it's getting everyone to a place where you can now do something as a government, and you have foot soldiers of people willing to get angry at each other because they've designed this so well that you have this. It's now natural if somebody says something offensive that you can cancel them, or you can cancel.
Right.
So
right.
How do you break free of a system? Because I don't think to your point, it's not bad people. I think most people I talk to, and I talk to a wide variety of folks, I think, are moderate folks who just want to have a good life, want to be able to provide for their family, want to be able to not live in fear. Mm-hmm. But all you see on the news and all you see on everywhere else is this really radical war. We're close to a civil war between the left and the right, and that's bullshit.
Yeah. they, the whole system, everybody is trapped all the way down. And like, and I can, you know, I can't remember if we talked about Bitcoin last time or not, but like the money itself doesn't work. We're all serfs. Because like, so I'm not trying to, so what you just said about, yes, you just go around and talk to normal people. What do they want? They want to just live life.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to just live life because you need money, right?
Right.
And so then that's where the whole argument comes in of like, conservatives think one thing about money, progressives think one thing about money, and it's all about who can the government give the money to? How can the government give out the money to help people? The money itself is broken. The money itself doesn't hold value. All the other countries, like the countries that mess up their currencies, like that's what happens. The political paper money is because like this is what happens. It causes strife like inside, and people, we can't.
Isn't that what happened in Greece?
Yeah, and we can't relate to each other because the money doesn't work. And so every labor agreement is rigged. Everywhere. We can't have like fair agreements because the money doesn't work. There's people in this country that get money for free. Like the United States is socialism for rich people. Rich people get money for free in this country from the government. Like, and then what do? They turn around and say, no, it's poor people that are getting money for free from the government because of like the welfare.
Right.
And so it's like, look, both those things are technically true. And that's how the government keeps us all controlled. And here's another thing I've been realizing recently. Church, like I'm a Christian, like Jesus is a radical person. The message of the Bible is radical grace and freedom for everyone. And what happened to him? He was murdered by the government.
Yeah.
And then what happened to his disciples? They were murdered and imprisoned by the government. But let's look at what happens in the American church. They get tax breaks. Pastors are allowed to opt out of Social Security. That's the
big mega
opposite.
Churches. They fly around in private jets. Yeah.
That's the opposite of being imprisoned. So are our American churches preaching freedom? Because there's this whole other thing too, dude. Like there's this whole, look, I've talked to tons of people that have been hurt by the church. And I've been, and just like, oh yeah, Jesus doesn't work. That's the same as everything else. Like there's people that have been hurt by Jesus or hurt by Christians. So they think that Jesus doesn't provide freedom. There's people that then sign up for, you know, make money online and do this business and you'll be free. And then there's people that go to corporate America and get nice jobs and get nice 401ks and they feel free for a while, but then eventually the hamster wheel of that makes them feel unfree. And then what? You're not allowed to just chill and run a coffee shop because the money doesn't work. The money loses value every year because the government extracts the value from you. So you're not allowed to just be an entrepreneur. We've all had that discussion, right? Like, what if we just hang it up and start a bar? Like, let's just hang it up and start a bar, and all our friends will come here, and we'll make, hopefully, you know, at the end of the day, we'll walk with like $45K a year for working, you know,
make a living,
which is cool, which would be cool, right? That'd be awesome for it to just chill. Or the same other thing, you know, there's people that work really hard corporate America for 6 months and then take it off in van life or whatever. Or having a family and living in a house. It doesn't matter. Any of that stuff, like freedom's different things to different people. But each of those things, each of those scenarios gets harder and harder and harder every year because there's more rules and they make it more and more complicated for us to interact with each other. Like business and community is interacting with each other. And it gets harder and harder to be friends with your neighbor and to do business with your neighbor every year. Guys, there's only one entity that is doing that. And it's the government. And so that's why, like, I'm not, I'm not like an anarchist. Like I went to high school, like Cory, we went to high school. Like I'm just a guy. But
Why
like,
why don't we teach those things at the high school level? Why does the education feel like it's been the same for the last 60 years and we don't have? I was talking to a buddy. How many basic finance classes did you take in high school? How many entrepreneurship classes did you take in high school? How many classes did you take that taught you how to make a living for yourself other than trading your time for money in corporate America? Because
yeah,
that's what feels like is missing to me. How many people knew how to do their taxes? Why are taxes so complicated to do? Why is it so hard?
right. So
But
there's
but
all legitimate questions, all legitimate questions. Yeah, exactly. And then when you get to the college level, whole nother set of legitimate questions. Why do they preach modern monetary theory? Why do they preach that government money printing is good? Why are the only economists, like I studied economics, like in why are the only economics professors that get hired at universities, why do they preach modern monetary theory and saying that government money printing is good?
how do we get out of this? How do we? I mean, I know your answer to this is get yourself involved in Bitcoin and don't get off this centralized money printing. But how do we? What strikes me is that why do we think that we can print all this money to save businesses just like we did for this, what was it, ended up being a $6 trillion stimulus package that some Americans saw $1,200 of? um, why wasn't that money going to cities that are so broken, like Baltimore, South Side Chicago, um, the list goes on and on, DC? Why couldn't we print that money and do, because they don't want to, right? They want this systemic.
It Yeah, it's just corruption. Like it's just the however however the viewer wants to answer that is the right answer. Like I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, like, but it it's corruption, it's power. Like
Yeah,
people, like if I have $20, who am I going to hand it to? My friend. Like I'm going to hand it to my friend. I'm
yeah,
incentivized to hand it to my friend
of
because
course.
that's what makes my life better. Like and that's what it is there. That's why centralized power is corrupting. And not even in a, look, illegal way or non-illegal way. I'm not even talking about law, like I'm not even talking about words on a paper, laws. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about just simply like incentives. If I have a gift to give, who do I give it to? My friends. And
Right.
so like these people in those cities that you mentioned don't have friends. Like that's literally what it is. Like the least of these in this country don't have friends in DC, and they don't have friends in Sacramento, and they don't have friends down in Olympia.
You can
They
take it even lower and you can drill down to small business owners that don't have connections with banks. I talked to a bunch of people that, because I was working with Orange Theory Fitness at the time, and we were, obviously the PPP loans and stuff. And if you weren't connected with Chase, if you weren't connected and had a good relationship with a banker, you're not getting access to those funds. And you're not, so I mean, you can drill it
Dude,
down even further to stuff like that.
banks and government are the same people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw in another one. Banks, government, and churches are the same people.
Yeah.
They're the same people.
So what do we do? How do we get involved, as me, as a white male who comes from a middle class, came from a lower class family, single mother. How do I make change in my community that will impact this country that I really love? I mean,
Yeah,
you and I
I
are
really
both
love it too.
patriots. We both love
Yeah, I
the
really
American
love.
ideals.
I love the United States of America.
Yes,
That's what makes
but
me sad.
right. Oh, it just feels like such a different world than 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
So I think first of all, you realize the power that you do have. Like you are how you listed off yourself and you like labeled yourself. You have power. Like you don't need me, like you have self-confidence. You don't need me to sit here and say like you're a leader and like all that stuff. Like, but realize like what do you have? You have an abundance of time. Like that's the reason why you started this podcast, because you have an abundance of time and you have an abundance of free thoughts in your head. Like you're a type A person you have time and you have an abundance of free thought, an abundance of enthusiasm, an abundance of charisma. You have an abundance of hard work and the ability to overcome almost any problem that any entrepreneur, we were joking, like, dude, work is just doing stuff. Like work is just solving problems. And that's why, so all of us, we like working. We like working. And that's what you have. You have your labor. And so what I have been starting to do in my head is I'm on strike from the rigged game. I'm on strike.
Which means what?
Like everything we just described, they do not own me. They don't own my time. They don't own my labor, and they do not own my wealth. They do not own me. Like I'm a free human created by God living in a free country. They do not own me. And so I am taking my labor out of their system. And so when I talk about a Bitcoin circular economy, even abstract away the word Bitcoin for a minute. Like circular economy of free humans, outside laws and outside rules. In the same way, like the Amish or the Native Americans live inside this country under their own set of rules.
Yeah.
That's what all of us can do. That's what that's why like Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Like, I know it's messy. I've never been there. There's probably people watching that have been there. I've never been there. I know it's messy and I know it sucks and I know there's probably crime and I know it's not perfect. Like it's not, and what I'm describing is not perfect, but like, look at the other option. Like the other, dude, there's no other option. Like the regular economy doesn't work. The regular economy creates inequality, like perpetuates inequality.
And it incentivizes, it feels like, sorry to interrupt, it feels like it incentivizes values that are antithetical to what we as Americans, or at least the majority of my friends, which are very Christian values. Look, you call me whatever you want, but I feel you should, treat people the way you want to be treated, and you should take care of your neighbor, which are very Christian values, straight out of gospel. So, but you're not incentivized to do that with the way the current economy runs. It's a winner take all economy.
And you can, right? You can be charitable, and we all enjoy helping other people.
Yeah.
The systemic like wealth theft by the government of all of us makes it harder and harder and harder to help our neighbor every single year.
Yeah.
So it's just like how Safeway food union goes on strike from Safeway. Like, we should be on strike from the system. Like, I don't want to work for them. I don't want to work for them. I don't appreciate the way they're treating me. I don't appreciate the way the U.S. government is treating me. I don't appreciate the way that the Sacramento government is treating me. I don't appreciate the way the Olympia government is treating my family and people that live in Ording and people that live in Puyallup. I don't appreciate that. I have a fundamental problem with that. And so when I say like, stop paying taxes, like, I'm serious. And I'm not even saying it in like and I understand, oh, well, you got to turn it in or else you get in trouble. And like, oh, like, I understand. Like, fill out the form and hand the bureaucrats their paperwork. But look for ways to leave. Like everyone who's, why do you hold guns at your house? Because you want to fully hold your safety.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be reliant on anyone else. We appreciate things that still work under the system, but this whole thing has shown how fragile the whole thing is. Nothing makes sense. You can't go to the grocery store. That sucks. The grocery store is now like the DMV. Like we all laugh, and, oh, the DMV, that's so funny. Yeah, the government, they can't do it. That's so funny. They took over the grocery store. Now the grocery store sucks, just like the DMV does. That sucks. I don't want to shop there anymore. I don't want to pay a cut to that anymore. No, they are not helping. So, like, Bitcoin, like circular economy is call it a barter economy. Call it whatever you want, but it's not, it doesn't have to be taking us backwards. It's taking us forwards. Like, I'm not preaching, and here's the thing. Some other Bitcoin guys you'll talk to, and they'll preach like it'll only work for a few people, or it'll only work for, you know, super tech people or whatever. Like, no, I want to preach a big tent vision of a big future. Like, I think this world is burning down. Like, I think the United States government is on its way down. And that has nothing to do with anything that I say on this podcast. I can't do that. But they are doing it to themselves. Yeah. We have to build a new system. In the same way that Uber built around the taxi unions. How, like, you couldn't take a taxi in Puyallup. What? Like, no. That wasn't a thing. Now Uber is a thing in Puyallup. We democratized the ability to get a ride anywhere without a car. And maybe it's more expensive for other people, totally. But if more drivers join, then it comes down, and there's an equilibrium there, and it's still a net benefit for everybody. That's what Bitcoin is for banks. Like, banks and government are the same thing, and they're ripping everybody off. Bitcoin is a separate economy. It's not a stock. It's not a stock where if you buy some, you're making, like, you don't, it's not just buy it and hold it. Like, it is the unit of account. It's different.
If someone has never heard of Bitcoin, or they've heard of Bitcoin it's a stock, it's a fluke, it's something you're going to throw your money on. It's something I saw those Facebook dudes get into. Mm-hmm. How do you educate them, or what advice do you give to them as a first time into the system? What's the introductory? Because I'm in the, but I have a little bit, not a lot, but I'm more curious about it. And I like the things that you say of how it's not, you can't just print money in something, in a case of a pandemic, and the value of the dollar doesn't adjust. I mean, it just goes against every supply and demand principle that I've been taught. And I'm not an economist. I'm a biology guy.
The way you get started is you get some. Like, the way you get started is you get some, and you can either swap your government money for it in a trade and buy it. And there's lots of different apps, and we can talk about them, or you join a local meetup. Like, honestly, joining a local meetup is the best thing. Like, I'm blessed that I have like a group of Bitcoiners, like here in Orange County, that I hang out with, and we're building the circular economy together. We're all on strike building the circular economy together. And so I don't know if I need to do better. Or actually, there is one in Seattle. There is a guy in Seattle who I do know from Twitter. And so there is, like, it's up there. But so you get some, or you work for it. Like, honestly, and this is hard. It's hard. It's emerging. And so it's clunky, and you have to find the people that are into it. But Bitcoin can make the barter economy work better because it's separate non-government money. And it's not like, and it's easier to chunk up and send with your cell phone than gold is. That's why it works. Like, that's why this isn't just some random thing that's coming out. Like, it's been around for 11 years, and it's meant to be a separate economy. it's not meant to rely on how it, like, it's not meant to rely on the main system. It's for now. It's for guys who, like, I left my job right before this whole thing happened too. And I was going to go on and I was going to work on my house and go get a different job and just move on because I was tired of my other job.
Yeah.
And the governor shut the state down. He shut the state down and just paused everything. And now we're just still in this holding pattern. Everybody in the whole world is in a holding pattern. They all have their own story of the same thing that happened to you and the same thing that happened to me. And they've all, like, everybody is stressed out in different ways. And so I don't want to add this new, I want people to really hear me. Like, I'm not trying to add this new, like, stressed out thing. Like, don't feel stressed out about this. Don't feel stressed out about, like, oh, like, that sounds too complicated. I'm bad with computers. Like, no. Like, think about everything that's frustrating about the current system and just think about what would happen to the world if we left. Like, really put on your, like, science fiction hat.
Let's fast forward. Let's fast forward 20 years. It's 2040.
Yeah.
God knows who's president.
Mm-hmm.
But your vision has come to fruition, and Bitcoin can be exchanged. I can go down to my local market, farmer's market, and I can send somebody some Bitcoin for a bag of apples and a bouquet of flowers.
Yes.
What does that look like?
So that's what that looks like. You painted the vision, your phone to their phone, and let's break it down even farther. Who wasn't involved in that transaction? The same people that are making the world hell right now.
So I'm not paying any state taxes in that transaction. I'm not paying any federal taxes.
No.
So who builds the roads? Who builds?
So, well, and the people that pick those apples, nothing in between the money that they got paid and pulling the apple down either.
Yeah.
So we're cutting out there's 15 middlemen between that apple on that tree and you eating it at your house. They're done. Like, they're done. That is not helpful.
So I think it's hard for people to understand. I mean, I think I can wrap my mind around a system where you have local economies and local communities doing that, but on a national scale. Mm-hmm. Or even just a statewide scale. Like, how do roads get built if we're not collecting tax for this? How do schools get built if we're not?
So that's the class. I mean, yeah. So classic question.
I mean, is it a privatized system to where a guy like Elon Musk can say, like, hey, I'm going to build a set of trains and I'm going to charge you a little bit of Bitcoin to ride this train every day, and that's how everybody's going to get transported around?
I think that part could take lots of different things. That part could take lots of different, like, we could talk about how maybe you won't, we could talk about maybe you won't even need cars because you can just ride your bike everywhere, because, like, the grocery stores aren't so big anymore and everybody just has a little market, and so there's more people making money in more little areas and more localism. We could talk about that angle, or we could talk about the angle you just said of like there will be entrepreneurs at every level that will solve big problems and solve it in a way that's achievable for people to, participate.
The idea is still very capitalist, correct? Though, I mean, it's very free market economy. Yeah,
totally. It's right. I'm trying, so, and I'm
with that. You have to allow businesses to fail in that system, though, which it doesn't feel like we do now. It's like somebody fails and then we bail them out. You dump your stock and then rebuy your stock.
Well, we all fail. Right? We all fail together. In the country right now, in the current system, profits are privatized and losses are socialized. And that's why I said at the beginning, like, we have socialism for rich people. And that's another thing that's so messed up. Like, even how your wife said, like, that's a great point. Like, the government has foot soldiers. Like, anything they want to do now, they have foot soldiers. And I'm guilty of this. I have been a foot soldier I've been like, here it is. Like, I am guilty of this. I've been a foot soldier in the past for saying that the United States is a free market and we need to defend the United States free market. Here's me publicly apologizing and saying I'm sorry for being a foot soldier on behalf of that. And here's what I really believe. The United States is not a free market. The United States is a rigged game that makes rich people more rich. And I have a fundamental problem with that. And I no longer am going to be a foot soldier for that. And so there's two wins. I'm no longer a foot soldier for that fake sentence. And I'm even more than that, I'm publicly opposing that. And I'm leaving. Like, my labor is leaving that.
Yeah.
My labor will not prop up that game. And so Bitcoin or no Bitcoin, it doesn't like it. That's what just hear me out on that for anyone this is the brand new thing. Like, Bitcoin or no Bitcoin, like, I'm leaving. Yeah. Bitcoin is the reason why I can say I'm leaving with optimism, because I've chosen to put my trust in a different system. And even higher than that, like, I can talk about the whole spiritual angle. Like, I just think this is what the early church was. Like, after the government murdered Jesus, he comes back to life, tells his disciples to preach freedom. They get murdered and imprisoned too. But they all stuck together and they all provided for each other. There was a small group economy, and they all lived together and they all ate together and they all supported each other. And rich people donated money to them, and good project managers said where they should go next, and they all worked together and did that. And so that's what I'm preaching. Like, I'm preaching everybody working together to create local circular economies and cut out the middlemen that are not helping.
Is the United States just too big? Do we need to break it up into four corners? Does it need to be, I mean, you have states, the idea of states in a union, so you have this big union that can protect itself, but is it just too large to have that kind of process for 300 million plus people?
So I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. I think so. Here's what I think happens. We get enthusiastic about the idea of leaving, and then we immediately want to like spread it everywhere. And so we do. We go. My brain has gone there too. My brain has gone to like, how do we create this on a broad, large scale? And it's like, I don't know. I don't have enough years on this earth yet to like explain how I would manage 330 million people. But I don't think I would.
Yeah.
Like, or could. Like, but what I can say is, here's what I can say. I can say that tonight, like, and this Bitcoin circular economy thing, like, this is not in the future. Like, this is right now. I can tell you right now, like, I will sit on public YouTube, like, I am buying dinner tonight with Bitcoin, with untaxed Bitcoin. Like, and I'm giving business to an entrepreneur in my area that is bringing food to my house. Like, I'm buying groceries tonight. And there's tons of people that are doing this. But they're afraid. They're afraid of saying it, and they're afraid of telling other people because they're afraid of getting in trouble for taxes. That's the reality. The reality is the reason why it's been so hard to learn about Bitcoin for 11 years is because the government has neutered it. They've neutered it because a lot of the on-ramps are through these exchanges that take all your personal information. And so when you're doing commerce with it, there's that's always hanging over your head, that this thing gets too big, so like, this is a subversive thing. Like, I'm not preaching like this, like, because you can't vote in the revolution. That's the thing too. Like, you can't vote in the revolution. You can't you can't vote back your freedom. They're not going, like, the more I go on YouTube and the more I say this, like, my life will probably get more complicated. Like, and it's not about me. It's about, I want other people to be free. Like, I'm tired of tyranny.
So your friend who is operating this restaurant or whatever it is that's getting you dinner tonight, how does he or she or whoever operate that without pay? So they don't have a business license. They don't have anything it's just a something they
So
cooked up in their kitchen and they're
most of
giving
the
it to you?
time, the best way for this to work is businesses that are already cash businesses that already do like there's already cash businesses in the United States.
Yeah.
Like I can walk outside my door and buy tacos for cash here in Anaheim right now.
Yeah.
And we all know that not all of that gets reported. We all tip people, we all tip servers, and we know that doesn't get reported. We all go on Craigslist and we all buy things in cash and it doesn't get reported. So there already is a cash circular economy. We all have friends that walked around with a bunch of cash in high school because they were doing tree jobs. We all had those friends, okay? So this, like, what I'm talking about is not that weird, okay? That's what Bitcoin is, okay? Bitcoin is that on your phone.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be complicated. Everybody who's listening knows what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, okay?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. And it makes a lot of sense in my mind of once you get out of the, I need to go get a good corporate job that has a 401k. And I think that's where I've gotten to. Like I've worked in franchising for the last 8 years of franchised fitness. And it just burns you out too. Like my job, you're just like constantly chasing money. And I want to be able to do something that I can enjoy. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my job because I enjoyed the people and the customers that we serve. But I want to be able to do something for myself where I'm earning myself money. I'm not working and making money for rich people, right? And I have no leverage and no say on the values that my company operates under, because that's what I want. I want to be able to take care of people that, have flexed pricing. If you pay what you can afford, and if I can make a living on that, then great. But we gouge people and we push people down. I've been on every side of the spectrum, man. I was super poor growing up, right? I remember walking around as a kid with me and my brother and my sister. We would walk around neighborhoods in Spokane and we would collect food for the food bank. We'd go knock on people's doors. This is in the 90s. You knock on people's doors, say, hey, we're the Bishop family. We're collecting canned food donations for the Spokane County Food Bank, whatever it was. We would take that to the food bank, and then we would take some of that food from the food bank. And that's how we ate in our duplex for a few years while my mom was in college studying to be a civil engineer. Yeah. And so like I've been on the spectrum, but and I've tried to amass a wealth to where I can live a comfortable life. And don't get me wrong, my life is very comfortable, but it still feels like you're always getting shortchanged on something.
Totally. And look, and here's the thing too. I don't want to cut out my friends that have 401ks and have good corporate jobs. Like, my wife has a 401k and a great corporate job, and I'm like really thankful for that. And so I'm in no way am I condemning that, and in no way am I condemning that as a thing or even as a lifestyle choice. That's positive. Yeah. Do that. And here's let me cast a big vision. When people that have that choose to participate in the Bitcoin economy, it rises the tide for everyone also. And because here's the thing, I'm not anti-banks and I'm not anti-companies. And that's where I'm trying to cast this big net, I know like I've sounded like a burn it down progressive this whole time, right? Like I want to cast a big net. Like corporations are not bad. Companies are not bad. Having good desk jobs is not bad. I've been a project manager. I've had great desk jobs and I've been thankful for them. When people that have those types of jobs buy into Bitcoin, they swap their government currency for Bitcoin, what happens? The total value of the Bitcoin network goes up. We're pulling our power back. Those people can still say, I don't want this money. Like, I don't want this government paper money. Yeah. This government paper money, it is what pays for police unions that hurt people.
So yeah, let's shift it to that.
Isn't bad. Go ahead.
Let's shift it to that. So
yeah.
I think correct me if I'm wrong. How does switching because I think switching the economy to something of a barter system and getting out of it. Because the current problem we have with policing and the treatment of African Americans and minorities in this country are a lot. I think a lot has to do with poverty. And again, I'm not an economist, but you look at the poorest neighborhoods, and where do you see the most police brutality? And you can say that because there's drugs in those neighborhoods, but why are those neighborhoods always, they've been like that since the 70s. They've always had this cycle of drug use, poverty, and police brutality. And why? Because there was redlining that forced a specific group of people to live in that area and didn't allow them to economically grow. And they're still dealing with the problems from that. But how does this solve some of our problems of, and you're drawing the line from, police unions get money from the US dollar. So
yeah. So no, exactly, dude. Great points. And like, that's why, so Bitcoin helps poor people because in those neighborhoods, Bitcoin, they already know how to, drugs like is a peer-to-peer business.
business.
They already understand peer-to-peer business. Bitcoin can facilitate peer-to-peer business now for any good. It doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't bad or good. I'm not putting any morality on any type of goods or any type of business. But now any type of business can be peer-to-peer. So that helps all entrepreneurs of all stripes everywhere. I don't care what your product is. I don't care what your product is. Bitcoin helps all peer-to-peer business everywhere.
That's a great point.
And then two, when the value of the total network goes up, like people with jobs, people with nice corporate, normal, mainstream jobs, and we'll say, oh, the barter economy, that sounds super inefficient. Oh, I guess Bitcoin's just for poor people. Oh, it's just for, no, it's not. It's for you too. It's for you too, because that's how you can help defund, that's how you can help defund violence. Total net worth of the US economy can flow into total net worth of peer-to-peer, more fair, more decentralized Bitcoin economy. And you can make money. You can make money on the investment because this is a thing. The Bitcoin economy is growing. This is a trend. Peer-to-peer Bitcoin economy is growing. You can be the early people that buy into it right now. If you have a corporate job, it makes it that much easier. We all throw away our government paper money on random stuff all the time because it's easy. It's easy. And so put some of it onto Bitcoin. Put some of it into Bitcoin. Buy a little bit of Bitcoin. Figure out, still find the circular economy. And here's the other reason why it matters for rich people. Bitcoin matters for rich people because it can protect your savings. You've worked hard. What's happening? I'm a member of Ally Bank. As soon as we get off here, I'm talking to a guy from Bloomberg about people are frustrated with their high interest savings accounts because the high interest savings accounts keep dropping.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because there's proliferate government money. It's all free now. They printed too much of it, so they don't have to pay me for mine anymore. Rich people need to be ready for a Bitcoin economy also, because look up negative interest rates. Look up the term negative interest rates. You have to pay the bank to hold your money. They don't pay you anymore. What? And oh, that'll never happen. Oh, you're crazy. Go to the grocery store. Look what's happening at the grocery store. It's messed up. They have messed up. The people in power messed up. And your money is on the line. Your wealth, everything is on the line. You are paying for it. If you're a rich person and you hold money in a bank, you are paying for it. You're paying for the system messed up. You're paying the paychecks of all those people in Olympia, all those people in Washington, D.C., all those people in Sacramento that are making life hell for all of us.
Where do we get to where we're treating each other differently? Does a different economy change that, or is it a moral thing? How do we get there? Most people I run into and I interact with are good people. But I have friends. I think we all have friends, especially growing up in Ording, that we allowed people to make comments and say things that about whoever, about people that weren't like them and people that are like them, and let it slide by. I'm definitely guilty of it, of allowing people to, you know, I felt that you and I and our group of friends in high school, we stood up against bullies. We didn't allow a lot of bullying for people of whatever reason. If you were small and jocks are picking on you, the classic stereotype, or if you were into this and someone's like, we didn't put up with that shit. But I feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten more into mind your business, don't get involved in things like that. And, you know, how do I now, and how do we make it okay again to call out things that are wrong without being a part of a cancel culture that if you do one thing wrong, you're done forever. Because I've done things that are wrong, but I still think I'm a decent guy. And I think if you ask most people that talk to me, I'm a decent guy. But how can I be a part of the solution that people are in the streets protesting for without being seen as a bad guy?
Look, we need a circular economy of grace. Like, we need a circular economy of grace, and we need a circular economy of Bitcoin. Like, both of those things are the opposite of the way that the current world works. We have to, like, we need an overhaul. Like, I love that word that you said. Like, we need an overhaul. We can't tinker at the edges. Like, tinkering at the edges is not going to bring freedom to people. Tinkering at the edges is not going to help people that are facing oppression inside our country right now, of all kinds of oppression. And everybody is facing oppression right now. Rich people in this country are facing oppression. Poor people in this country are facing oppression. We could fill 1,000 hours talking about different people that are facing oppression in this country. We need a circular economy of grace. We need to have grace, like, for other people. We need our churches to actually preach freedom. We need our churches to actually call out the government and stop sitting on their tax breaks.
So we can't vote this in. We've decided, right? We can't vote in a revolution. Are you telling me not to vote this election cycle? What do I mean, there's got to be something that we can do. Can we nominate somebody as people? Can we not even nominate? Can we draft somebody and say, like, hey, you're a patriot. You are somebody who you're seeing this going the wrong way. We choose you as our spokesperson. So that's the thing. I think it's this movement still needs a leader, and it's still a kind of a faceless, leaderless movement right now that has 6 different. You have like the Black Lives Matter organization. You've got all these different organizations that have leaders. I don't know enough about those organizations, if they are people that should be leading or would be good for the whole movement. But do we draft somebody and just say, like, I mean, and how does that get organized?
I think we have to get comfortable with decentralized leadership. I think we have to get comfortable with having multiple people with charisma working together. And I think you lead by being a servant leader and doing what you can in your community, and doing what you can to not tear down other people that are making progress. And I think by just like looking, which is not a fun answer to hear. It's not a fun answer to hear. Like, want to know my fun answer? My fun answer, and I'm completely serious about this, is like Kanye West. Like Kanye West 2024. Like, if you want to really talk about draft big change, like Kanye West 2024, like, burn it down. Kanye West 2024. Andrew Yang, please revoke your endorsement of like Biden. Bernie, please revoke your endorsement of Biden. Yang, Bernie, please start a podcast together. Do a podcast together and talk about changing things with technology and changing things with people being able to leave the system. Don't talk about more government money printing. Talk
Yeah.
about switching off the government money. Talk about people bringing power back to themselves. So, and I think as Joe Rogan, I think Joe Rogan is a great leader. Joe Rogan is a great leader. I think Kanye West is a great leader. I think there are celebrities that are helpful at helping people be free thinkers. I think Chance the Rapper, I think Childish Gambino, I think everything you love about certain music artists or podcasters or whatever, think about what keeps them all together. It's free thinking. Like, it's free thinking and willingness to address the elephant in the room, willingness to be different. And that's where anyone who's willing to do that, I'm with you. And that's why that person in Puyallup, they were fed up enough to rally hundreds of people together to talk about something. This guy, like one of my good friends here in Orange County, Steven, like started the Orange County Bitcoin Network. There was 7 of us. There were 7 people at our first meeting a year ago. And now we have hundreds of people like on Meetup. This is what churches, dude, this is what churches were. Churches were this place of community where people would organize and work together to create change.
Yeah.
But churches have been neutered by the government because they're too friendly. The relationships are they're too cozy. And so 2 things, it's getting comfortable with decentralized leadership and getting comfortable publicly saying who the enemy is. The enemy is the government. The enemy is centralized control of the government. And that makes people, that's scary. Like,
that makes people nervous. Yeah.
That's a weird thing to say. That's a really weird thing to say. But anybody who's saying that, I'm with them. Like, I'm not covering for the establishment anymore. If you're saying that the government is the problem in a progressive way, please do that. If you're saying the government is the problem in a libertarian or conservative way, please do that. If you are a technologist that's working on cryptography or like whatever, that like, you know, that wants people to bring, like, this is what Snowden and Assange and like, this is what those guys were saying too.
Yeah.
Everybody has been saying this. Everybody has been saying this. So like, take off your blinders of what team you're on and look for ways to identify the common enemy and take the common enemy down. And that's where leaders, the best leaders, like Occupy Wall Street, you're identifying the right thing. You're asking the exact right question. I don't want to brush that off because you're a leader, and that's why you're asking who's the leader. Like, you're a great teammate in that you don't care if you're the point guard or the second forward. Like, I don't care. As long as we have a good point guard, I'm down to be the forward. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm down to, and if you want me to be the point guard, I'll be the point guard. Like, whatever you guys want. Like, let's just start moving.
Yeah.
The best point guards of this next wave will be able to bring the decentralized movements together in a way that continues to chunk away influence from the establishment. And so people that I'm seeing doing that are people like Joe Rogan, people like Kanye West. That's who I'm seeing do that. And people like, and that's why it was a bummer when Andrew Yang endorsed the establishment.
Yeah.
That's why it was a bummer. That's why it's frustrating. And that's not in a way of like, I understand, like, vote blue no matter what, like that. And so vote blue no matter what. That's great. Vote blue no matter what. But bring back OG Yang. Like, we need more OG Yang in the world.
Yeah.
Not more Yang, vote blue no matter what Yang. And
right.
Both are fine. Both are fine. But we need more of the original. We need more of the original juice. And the fact that he only got 5% with the original juice is part of the problem. Like there's 5. So let's just take that as the base. Like, so 5%, like the Trump vote. And I think the country is farther along on this than they think. Trump winning in 2016 was the FU vote. It was the middle finger vote. Tons of books and all the stuff has all been about that and whatever. Was the FU vote. That was an indictment of everything that's wrong in this country. And part of the reason why he hasn't been able to get as much swamp draining done as possible is because of how thick the problem is. Like, the bureaucracy is really thick. Like, dude, I applied to work there. They didn't let me in. Some combination of whatever you want. Like, probably because of everything I'm saying right now. Like, is, oh, that was too much swamp draining.
Yeah.
Like, the White House personnel office, that's too much swamp drain. We're going to drain it up to heat.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter if Yang gets in. It doesn't matter if Bernie gets in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
There's a hard ceiling.
That's you. You have to break that ceiling in your own life. That's what dude, the First Amendment, like me being able to sit on YouTube right now and say the government is the problem. That's the reason why we have the First Amendment, is because of that ceiling. The Second Amendment, why do we have guns?
Protect yourself from a tyrannical government.
And the centralized way of organizing doesn't work. It's up to you to secure your house.
Well, I think we've gotten away from, I mean, it used to be saying, I think the idea of the First Amendment, Second Amendment specifically, is you are supposed to be able to protect yourself. And the government may be able to assist in ways if needed to, with police force, with whatever it may be. But we've gotten now into the space of everything is relied on the government. I get a check from the government right now, and I don't need to have a firearm because I have police that can protect me, but who's monitoring them, and are they being double checked, and what's preventing them from asserting power over me or falsely accusing me of something. So I need to be able to protect myself and my family by myself. And then if there's a way that the government can assist, great. But you shouldn't be relying on government to get you money, to protect you, to feed you, to make sure that you can practice your religion in whatever way you want.
Here's the Big Tent. If you are relying on the government and you are getting your money from the government, that's great. That's awesome. Like, take that money. But here's the problem. Take that money and join the Bitcoin circular economy.
Yeah.
Leave. Take it and leave. And if you have the ability to take money from the government, do it. Like, I'm not advocating, and that's the beauty of this thing. I'm not advocating for people to act against their own self-interest. I don't need we don't need anybody to do anything against their own incentives. That's the beauty of the system. Like, take that money and join the Bitcoin circular economy. Or take that money from the government and pay off your fiat bills with it and start a side job, like, for Bitcoin. Yeah. Like, and this is where this is an indictment on the churches. Churches do not provide enough benefits to communities, which has caused, it's both. Like, both of those things have fed on each other. The government has become our God. The government has become our God, and that is who we rely on, which is why churches have felt so stagnant. That's why it feels so stagnant. We have tons of friends that are relatively down with the concept of going to church. But when they go, it doesn't feel, it's just, why am I doing, like, why do we not get the same feeling from going to a Seahawks game for going to church? Because it's not exciting.
Yeah.
Not exciting. And that's a problem. That problem is because the government has become our God. The government provides, like, I went to Azusa Pacific University, Christian university, sitting in sociology classes with other Christians, and they said, government should be providing services for people. And I said, like, what does that matter if we're not setting them free, though? What does that matter if we're not, like, that's okay, sweet. But I thought Jesus was a revolution. Like, I thought Jesus was like, I didn't know.
Didn't he flip over the tables of the money collectors?
Yeah, I didn't know we were just, like, giving stuff to people. Like, I thought it was a revolution. I thought we were supposed to be free. And that's where, so if, like, I'm speaking, like, this is not just a general, like, ranting about, like, oh, it's unfair government handouts. Like, that's not what I'm ranting about. Like, take the handouts and do something else with it. Like, I'm trying to preach a better world, a better brand new world, like that you will have abundance of freedom.
Man, sounds like a good world, man. So if I can go spend money and buy dinner tonight without having to pay taxes on it, and that person who's selling me that doesn't have to pay taxes on it, and we can figure out a way to still have, you know, the services provided. I think that's just the kicker right now for me, is we got to figure out how, and I'm clearly not the smartest guy in this because I'm not even educated enough on the topic, but we got to figure out a way to still be able to provide services and benefits to people, which I don't think is impossible. I think there's a way to figure it out without it being a arbitrary tax. Or you look at like a tax in Washington State that was voted down. You talk about the registration tax for the RTA taxes, right? You're paying. I had to register my truck one year after they passed that, and it was a $300-$400 bill to put tabs on my truck and pay for registration. We subsequently had a referendum that voted down that and voted for $40 tabs, or whatever it was, $20 car tabs. And the government said, Washington State government said, no, fuck you. That doesn't count. We're going to either and it's still like people are still having, and they said, keep paying your tabs on the bills we send you. So it's like, yeah, you can't vote in the revolution. Like, you just need to stop paying your tabs. And
everything's stuck in the middle. Dude, and everything's stuck in the middle. The rules are too complicated. You can't even, if you can be the most goody two-shoe rule follower that there is, and you'll still break them. You'll still break them because the rules are too complicated. Doing your taxes is too complicated. It's too hard. It's too hard, and it takes too much time. Yeah, and that's where, and to your point of like, look, I don't know how this works. It's not all or nothing. It's not all or nothing. I'm not saying cut up your credit cards. I'm not saying go down to Chase Bank right now and close your accounts. I'm saying look for ways to engage the cash and Bitcoin circular economy, because the cash economy is out there. But what's happening? Governments are going to crack down on cash because they know that people are, because the rules are too complicated. Like, there's already cash businesses because the rules are too complicated.
Yeah.
But now there's mask rules, there's tabs rules, there's license rules, there's all of that.
Well, you talk about self-proprietors. I had a number of friends that are self-proprietors and cash businesses that tried to get on unemployment and tried to get PPP and all this other stuff, and were last in line. And so that's a good example of cracking down on these cash. Was it a direct?
Well, and that's the other reason.
Maybe,
that's the other way they keep people in line. Okay, so if you choose to be a part of a cash economy, then when we do offer new rounds of handouts, you're last in line because you've already been, because you're not in the system. And so they're already trying to say that you're doing something bad. They're already trying to say that you're doing something bad when you're not. You're allowed to operate a cash business in this country.
Yeah.
And we're allowed to protest in this country. And what you are doing is not helpful. You are picking winners and losers. You're picking winners and losers. You're allowing corporations to stay open, and you're forcing small businesses closed. You're forcing sole proprietors closed. That is not fair. That's not fair. That's not the ideals of this country. That is not what any of us signed up for.
You talk about taxes being so complicated. Of course, yeah. Like if I go to do my taxes, I have to figure out the amount that I owe you, and if I make a mistake, and underpay you, then I go to jail for it, or I have to pay you the same. Like, in what other world does that? I don't go to a restaurant and order a cheeseburger and guess the price of your burger and say, probably $15. Oh no, you didn't. It's Angus beef. It's actually $18, and I leave you short, and then you arrest me.
Yeah.
What?
Dude. No, and then there's selective enforcement. The rule of law. That's laws in this country are not applied to different individuals with a different standard. And that's a huge bastardization of the way it was supposed to work.
I think that's what you're seeing for that's the whole part of this movement right now, is that laws are not applied to differently. I was pulled over the other day going, there's this little street in Sumner here, just outside of Puyallup, and I was going to meet a friend, and I always go faster there because it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, but it's like a highway, so it should be like a 40. I would do 40 through here, get pulled over, and cop pulls me over, me and my wife. I didn't even have to show my license. Didn't show my license. Didn't run my plate. I'm doing 15 over in this zone. He pulls me over. Hey, just want to let you know, it's 25 back there, not 40. And I'm like parked in somebody's like driveway because I pulled over there. I'm like, hey, do you want me to like pull forward so I can get out of their driveway so you can run them? And no, don't. I'm like I'm reaching in my pocket to pull out my wallet, and I got like, and it dawned on me after we left, and I'm talking to Kiera, and I'm like, I don't understand how people don't understand that because my face looks like this, and I'm a 6'3" white man who's well put together, that I don't have to worry about reaching into my pocket to grab my wallet. I don't even get my license ran.
Right.
Like, what?
No,
So like, yeah, different rules apply to different people. And it goes for social justice. It goes for the police brutality. And it goes for government and economic standings. That's why a friend had a great point. If race doesn't matter, why is race on loan applications? If race doesn't matter, why, when I'm applying for a house, I have to list my sex and my ethnicity?
Yeah. So, dude, all that collection of information contributes to cancel culture and contributes to unfairness, right? Because it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter for a bank account. It shouldn't matter for a loan. It shouldn't matter for any of that stuff. Why do you need that?
Yeah.
Why do you need that? I'm a human. And that's
I'm an American.
Separate, right. So you can't vote in. So you can't. So you asked me, am I vote or don't vote? I don't care. I don't know. Like,
you don't think it's going to do any good.
I think the full nuanced answer is like, it can do good at the local level. It can do good at the local. That's what the full answer is if you really care, and you have to have some sort of community. Here's the best case. This is hard too. This is the best case. So we talked about all the circular economy stuff. The best case is you do have some sort of local community, whether it's a church or a Bitcoin meetup or a soccer league or frisbee golf, or like, it doesn't matter, bowling team. You have some sort of thing like that, right? That's your crew. The best thing is that with that group, invite all the city council, get the list of all the city council people that are on the ballot, okay? Invite them to your bowling night and ask them all questions. And ask them questions. Say, what do you think about mandatory masks? What do you think about, business taxes? What do you think about like true, like real stuff? Hey, what do you think about that road being 25 instead of 40? Like, ask them that stuff. And stop watching the news and stop watching about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And then you say, you tell them, because they need you. They need you. Because they have ambition. They want to be charisma, right? And this is part of the thing. I'm not tearing. This is the thing. This is me put Big Tent. If you like voting and you like politics, traditional politics, that's awesome. Here's a way that you can help more. Get rid of taxes. Like, get rid of the rules. Let people do what they want.
It's going to be uncomfortable.
That's what you can do.
It's never, like, it never goes from bad, oppressive to really good in the revolution, right? The revolution is always bloody.
Totally. And it's going to tear apart families. It's going to tear apart families the same way anything tears apart families. Like, but it's like, our families are already torn apart. And it's already uncomfortable to go to the grocery store. And gas is already too expensive. It's already here. Like, we're already in the movie. That's the thing. That's what truly changed, like, coronavirus. Like, that's what truly changed for me. Was like, Oh,
You're in
okay.
it,
Now we're in the movie.
and I don't see an end. Right now, I'm in
No.
Washington State. We just now rolled back into we didn't roll back phases, but now all masks are required as of today. I have to go to the grocery store today, and I have to get something, so I have to put my mask on in there. Which I don't care about it, but it just feels like the government mismanaged everything so bad from when things happened to now we're closing to why are we closing to we didn't need masks, now we need masks. I don't care either way. Like whatever the science says, I will follow the science. But I can't even trust the science right now because I don't trust the sources that I'm getting it from. I don't trust the government. I don't trust anything that anybody's saying. So yeah, I don't know where you go for. And there's no light to the end of the tunnel. I had a bunch of we got all laid off at Orange Theory. We did our first podcast. What was it? 3 months ago on March 15th.
Yeah.
Orange Theory, the group that I was with, which I just not decided to not come back there. They reopened on Monday, and they closed last night. They reclosed last night because of for whatever reason. I haven't talked to the owners, but I've talked to some of my friends and former coworkers in there, and they're just like, what do you even? They have to find other things to do now.
Yeah.
Like you can't just put these people back into something that
Right.
it's like what do you
And
what do
that's
you do?
why. And that's why I want people to know about this Bitcoin circular economy, because it doesn't sound that weird anymore. It doesn't sound that weird anymore because the regular world went weird. And so I don't care anymore. Like I'm not covering for that game anymore. I'm done. I'm not coming up with excuses. Like they like just straight up. You said it in your own, like they mismanaged what we were all doing and they messed all our lives up. So they mismanaged everything and messed all our lives up. And people are having to leave jobs and not have jobs, and kids don't know if they're going back to school. All of that is all messed up. All of the world is weird now. So I'm like starting over, just blank. Like, what do I need day to day, and where am I getting it from?
Yeah.
And
I just hope we see some accountability for this too. And I mean, maybe that's a good place to kind of wrap this up is like if this has done anything good, it has done what you just told me. It made me realize what I need, what I really need, what I don't need, and how I can live my life in a fulfilled fashion that makes me happy. Things that make me happy. I had a realization that I got away from. Things that make me happy are helping people, helping my friends, doing things that entertain me and make me laugh, and things that I can create stories from. So what can I do when I'm sitting at this cool bottle cap table that I just built and I'm sitting around with friends having a beer? What can I do in my life to where we can talk about a story? Hey, remember that time that Brian merged onto I-5 and almost killed us all when we went back to Tacoma Dome? That was a funny story.
Right.
Right. So that's what I want to do right now. And so maybe we'll get somewhere from there, but it's a good point. You're starting at a blank slate right now. So figure out what makes you happy.
Yes.
And do it.
Yes. And find the technology to own that story end to end. Cut out middlemen and own that end to end.
Yeah.
Don't let other people inside of that loop. Get that closed loop, and don't and when I say don't let other people, still be friendly. Like help your neighbors. I'm not advocating for just like only look out for like. No, I'm saying like find the way to create the closed loop and then grow the closed loop.
Yeah.
Show other people the way.
You're gonna have to have communities built and people on board for this to happen.
Communities are good. We need communities. That's what we don't have right now. We don't have communities right now. We do have communities right now. We do, and they're positive. They're good. You all know where the good communities are in your life. Wipe the slate blank and build on that. You're not having to start over. You're not having to start over. And I'm not randomly preaching, try out Bitcoin. The way I'm not saying like Come join my vegan club. Come join my gym. I'm not saying don't join my club. Don't join my club. Make your club better.
Yeah.
Like add Bitcoin to your club and own your wealth end to end.
It's good stuff, man. Good stuff. I always enjoy talking to you, man. You're so passionate about whatever you're on, and you know, hopefully, hopefully people got something out of this. I enjoyed talking to you. I'm sure we'll do it again soon. But where can people follow you on social media? And we'll link it in here at the channel. But
yeah, my website's brianharrington.org, and my social is Brain, like in your head, Brain Harrington, across all social.
right on, man. Well, have a good Friday, good weekend. That's Brian Harrington, and we are signing off.
See you guys.